A guy said, you know, food comes from the store. And I said, yes, but where does that food come from? He says, what do you mean? It comes from the store. And I said,
I love that story. It never gets old.
to be fair, the gains we've gotten back, I mean, it's a tremendous loss for the fact that we could not say on one of the biggest social media platforms in the world, men aren't women. They actually banned Meghan Murphy for saying that. And just that, it's very innocuous.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just saying, is that we're you know, the tide is turning. We are moving in the right direction. LC9 says, up your X engagement, keep telling the truth. Yes, yes. Context said also, something else we can do is keep up the boycotts on the companies that don't give a shit about us. Vote with your dollars and keep the pressure on. Bingo. Absolutely, absolutely.
I find Twitter is a vulnerability at this moment, the way it's built, the centralized system. So if we can decentralize that thing into a protocol and still use it, and it's
guys, could I just get 2 more likes, please? Not even 3, just 2 likes. Thank you.
Fast enough. There's still issues with like Nostr where sending video is slow, but it doesn't mean it's always going to be slow. We can use mesh networks so that if we all have Twitter on our phone and 4 of our phones go down, the other 2 are going to keep the network going.
I do think that, you know, what Turning Point USA is doing right here is one of the most important things. Bringing people together. People are meeting each other all throughout this building and even in the streets, even at restaurants.
Yes. Yep. And that's why it's so important. That's why it's so important that I'm trying to build this platform, that Tim is building his platform, that TPUSA is building their platform, to have the ideas that people like us have. In order for them to get to Washington, you can't just want it bad. You have to do something. You have to bring people together, and you have to create political pressure.
That culture building is the most important thing because, as we all know, it's been quoted 50 billion times. Andrew Breitbart, politics is downstream from culture.
Someone told me this is like the RNC now. This is basically why not just this is the RNC de facto.
Pretty much.
I can't.
Pretty much, and that's why it's so difficult when people try to associate me with the GOP or somebody like Mitch McConnell or something. It's like, yes, I lean more to the conservative side when it comes to these cultural issues, and I think the cultural cultural issues are very important. But that being said, that doesn't mean that I'm looking to rah GOP. I think changing what the Republican side of the aisle even is into a more America First type thing is exactly what we need to do. Shout out to Ayush Gupta for the for the $15 PayPal. My goodness, thank you so much. And of course, every single donation comes with a treat for my co-host Morty, getting that duck recipe. Yummy. Thank you, sir. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so much, brother. Very, very much appreciated.
That as a compliment. If you might have meant it as an insult. Would you call it the RNC, Tucker? It's like NATO. It sucks huge amounts of cash and demands attention and does nothing useful.
Time to abolish it. And it subverts Poland in its comparing anything to the Republican National Committee or Convention is just...
It's an ugly slur.
Yeah. It's an ugly slur.
I'll take it as what the RNC should be doing.
Say,
exactly.
Shout out again to Ayush. Very much appreciated.
Having been around this stuff my whole life and spent my whole life in Washington, the true corruption of the Republican Party, I don't know, it just took... I was like 10 years behind on that.
Speaking my language.
That, man.
But now that I see it, I'm like, I can't believe this exists. Because, by the way, in some ways, it's more offensive than the Democratic Party because it's lying. The Democratic Party is just like, we're here to hurt you and belittle you, of course. But the Republican Party pretends to be on your side. They're like Quislings, but they're literally the Republican Congress.
Oh, let him go. But Mood's saying the Republican Party is toast. These are the dumbest people all at one table are a perfect representation of the party currently. They literally just said that we don't like that. And I agreed. We don't like that. The GOP, the old Republican Party, that's not what we want. We want this thing that's moving forward. They literally just said that. So either they're the dumbest people or they're the representation of the party. They can't be both.
Congress just allowed the Biden administration to spy on Republican voters. So, like, is there a bigger sign of the fact that they hate you every bit as much as the Democrats?
What I love about this, though, is I agree with you. However, if you are on the, how would I describe this, the lower end of the IQ bell curve, you don't understand what it is Democrats are saying they're doing. So, for instance, when they say they're going to have free trade, it's good for everybody. Semantic
obfuscation. changing the meaning of words to confuse people or win arguments.
They say we're going to increase environmental regulations and increase taxes. To the average person, they're like, this is good. It makes the rich pay their fair share. But to anybody who knows anything, they're like, hey, wait a minute. This is going to drive all of our manufacturing base overseas where they can ship their products back for dirt, pay people in China dirt, and have no environmental regulations. So this is why Trump takes actions when he did in his first term that resulted in a lot of manufacturing coming back. But see, we can understand that. And I'm not trying to be too much of a dick, but there's a lot of people who don't understand the basics. And I'm sorry, but sometimes I do argue with them on X, and they say, I remember this one conversation where a guy said, food comes from the store. And I said, yes, but where does that food come from? He says, what do you mean? It comes from the store. And I said,
I love that story. It never gets old. I used to say Trump's floating Nikki as a VP pick. Absolutely abysmal. Two questions for all of you guys. How likely do you think it is that he does, in fact, pick her? Assuming that, they don't take him off the ballot. How likely do you think it is that he picks her? And how do you think that, establishment Republicans, moderate people are going to respond to that? Because I'm right there with you. I think it's abysmal. But I don't know. I think it might be politically a good move. Which says establishment Republicans are for low taxes and less government. That's not true anymore. These people are about the great replacement theory. See, this is why I said Vivek shouldn't have said that. Dumbing schools down and taking trans people's rights away. Wrong. M169. So the GOP fails to recognize that they're being replaced by MAGA, and it's a more unifying force. Exactly. But Mood's got it.
my God, help me.
I'll help you.
I was there for that conversation.
It was
I remember
fun,
sitting there.
yeah.
It's like,
He's like, what do you mean? Milk's coming from the store. And I'm like, there's a supply chain.
I think you got to build trust, and it's challenging with someone you disagree with. But if they trust you, they're more willing to change their mind about the things you're saying. And you
Yeah, Gonz had a good point that there's other female candidates. I heard Carrie Lake's name being floated around. That would be a VP pick.
mentioned Tucker about learning about the corruption of the Republican Party, and I kind of watched it in real time on TV in 2006, 7, 8, when the Iraq War was kind of lit up, and I remember you were into it. It seemed like you were on the side of the Republican, like George Bush and the movement, and then Jon Stewart came on one day, and you guys just had it out, and it was like humiliation.
This is exactly what I mean about how we see an organic change. We see an organic change in who Tucker is and what the things Tucker says, what the things Tucker believes in, that would make sense for somebody who was the #1 anchor on Fox and now is on his own.
And he's like, please stop harming America. But the way you were looking at him was like really listening to him. Was that a moment?
No, I thought, and I still think that he's a mediocrity, and I think time has proven me right on that.
Absolutely.
But what's interesting is that by that point, I mean, this is not even interesting at all, actually, but my views on Iraq, which I had a daily TV show leading up to that war, and I had kind of endorsed it sort of half-heartedly against my better instincts, but I did that. I felt ashamed about it ever since. And then I went to Iraq in December 2003, 20 years ago this month. And I got through the day they captured Saddam at Tikrit, and I watched the whole place fall apart. And I won't bore you with the details, but I realized that everything I'd advocated for was a complete lie, that this was a disaster that could only hurt my country, which is the only country I really care about. And by the way, it eliminated the entire Christian population of Iraq, which I guess we're not allowed to say. But if you're a Christian, you should care what happens to Christians globally. And I must say, they do bear the brunt of almost all of our foreign policy. And no one says that. It's happening now, happened in Syria. And it's like
a good point. That's a good point. I never really thought about that, especially as somebody who's not religious, that a lot of these foreign policy things are playing right into the hands of, if it's not straight up Islamists, globalists who don't care about this freedom that we should all have, whether I'm religious or not. Absolutely. I believe that you should be able to have whatever faith you want. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed that clip, check out the full live stream link in the bio and catch me live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. See you there.